Hi everyone, welcome to this video. I have a bicycle here and I'm just going to try and set up the tripod here actually, and I'm going to be on camera in just a minute. So there's the bike. It's late in the day in winter, it's about 3 p.m, 3:30 p.m, it gets dark in 2 hours, but there's the bike in that lovely shimmering shadow and light play that we get in winter in these forested mountain tracks. And so I've been doing some work on the bike today and I've just taken it out for a spin. In total I'm riding about 3.5 kilometers today. It's not very much, is it? But you know, it's not the Tour de France or anything, is it? Speaking of France, I just bought some Mudguards the other day down at the Giant shop, and I've just installed them on the bike. For me, because I'm not familiar with the bike mechanics that much, it was quite time consuming to put it all together. And I lost the instructions, and so I had to go and seek them on the internet, and I had to find out, the instructions were on the packaging, find out what the name of it was and blah, blah, blah. I finally found out the name. It's a, what is it? Zefal, Z-E, just there, Z-E-F-A-L, Zefal, the front, and on the back and on the front as well. The brand name is only on the rear. So it's a Zefal 65, and it's a French company. And get this, it's actually made in France. It's actually made in France. I mean, that just blows my mind. And the instructions on the packaging were beautiful. They're on the internet as well for the Zefal 65. It's got some other name like Swan Road or something, or Swan Trail or something, a real sort of elegant name. It's got swan in it. Maybe not this particular model, but one of their models has got swan in the name, which I thought was quite elegant. You know, it's French. You know, French are all about the Tour de France and everything. So, yeah, I've taken it for a few short rides just out here, and I'm going to take it for a bit of a longer ride soon. So far, it doesn't seem to be conflicting with the wheels or anything. It's got a very close fit to the wheels, and they're big, chunky off-road wheels, but tyres, I mean. But so I required an Allen key to do that. Two different types of Allen key, and yeah, I actually had problems with the brakes on this bike, and I'd brought it into the Giant dealership where I bought the bike, and what had happened is on the brake lever, there's like a tensile O-clamp that had come loose somehow, and it was letting brake fluid escape from the pot, like the piston in there that gets compressed when you squeeze the brake lever, for frick's sake. And before that, I'd actually, before going and seeking help of the dealership, I'd actually purchased like a pincer tool to work on it myself, and I actually fixed it myself, but I was still not happy with it. One thing that's deceptive is when you've got the bike sitting down for a long time on its side inside the car, you go to squeeze the brake lever and it's got no brake feeling, no resistance in the brake lever at all, and you think, oh my god, all of the fluid's leaked out. But it turns out you only get that brake resistance when the bike is upright. So that was a bit deceptive, and it actually had some fluid in there, which I'd filled up myself with mineral brake fluid from another Giant dealership, which I got beforehand. So I'd done a lot, that cost me a lot of money. I've done a lot of work on it myself without seeking help, you know, being a recovering codependent. It gradually dawned on me, man, it's under warranty, you didn't do anything wrong. Just take it to Giant and get them to look at it. So I took it into Giant, and he looked at it, and he text messaged me. He was good, he was kind and everything, and he didn't try and charge me money. He looked at it and he said, there's no problem with it. It's got, you know, it's working and everything like that. And I went and picked it up, and I was like, yes, it is working. I can see it's working. So, you know, when it was lying down in the car, it had no feedback from the brake. It was only the right-hand lever which does the front brake. But when it did have the O-clamp off, when the O-clamp came loose rather, it did indeed lose some fluid. And so what I've done today is I've gotten out my Torx set, because you need two different types of Torx wrench bits to take off the brake pot. This here, This is the brake pot right here. It's got a reservoir of brake fluid in it. These two are one size of Torx bit, and this one is another size of Torx bit. This one's bigger than those two, so you need two different types of Torx bit to take this off. Before you can take this off, because it's got fluid in it and it's on an angle down, you need to lift it up so that it's horizontal, so the fluid doesn't tip out like a swimming pool tilting on a boat or something in a cruise liner or something. Before you can loosen this one, you need to loosen this one, the gears, so you can swivel the gears out of the way. Once they're loose, the nut that holds them is loose. Then you get the nut that holds this one that's underneath, and you get it loose and you lift it up so that it's horizontal, and then you tighten it temporarily in place. And then you can take these off, and then you can fill it up again, and then you can start squeezing it like that and getting it pumping, getting it all the tension in it. This is good now. It's perfect. It's got nice tension in it there. That's perfect. Whereas this one here, it's a little bit kind of, and this one, this is the left-hand side for the rear brake. It actually has the same freaking problem that this one had before I fixed it. So this one, the O-clamp that's in there is now back in its place. You can also see this one now has the problem that one used to. That one's fixed. You can see the lever's in the right spot. Look at the lever of this one. Look how far forward it sticks just in its default position. Normally its default position should be like that one, should be like about there, but instead it's way out there. And that's because the O-clamp has come loose in there, and because of that, can you see that on my finger? You can see the wetness there of the mineral oil leaking out of the left-hand rear brake lever. You can see it freaking shining in the sun there. That's leaking out from in there. And I'm going to have to get in there once I find my pincer and fix the left-hand side by putting the O-clamp back in there, back in its place, and refilling, doing the same thing, getting this one loose and horizontal, refilling it with brake fluid, which is mineral oil, luckily not the corrosive shit that they use on motorbikes and cars. So it's not going to corrode away and melt away the paint or anything. So yeah, I was surprised to see that one now has the problem, now that I've fixed that one. So I've done quite a lot of work just on the brakes, and I wondered, why did that happen? And I thought that probably happened because of inactivity, because I just left it inactive for so long. There's my Osprey 225 backpack. I think that's what it is. It's an Osprey. And it's a beautiful backpack. I like the green color, and it's quite a nice size. It could do with being a bit bigger. I've had this for a long time. I like the logo on Osprey. Unfortunately, this one's like made in Vietnam or somewhere, but Osprey is like the world's best backpack company. I've had this one for a while. I really like the logo on it. Osprey. Yeah, beautiful. And the only accessory I've got on it is I got this from the $2 shop. It's a little compass. I think it's got the temperature as well, but I got it as a compass. If I'm up in the snow, damn, it fell over. If I'm up in the snow in the mountain, and if there's a blizzard, and if my GPS gets lost or stops working, I'm going to need that compass to just find the track again. Stuff like that. So that's why I got that. It could save your life just having that $2 compass there. Nothing fancy, just it'll give you a direction if you're in a blizzard. It is winter here, by the way, and there's snow up in these mountains sometimes, and I'm going to climb Bogong again. So, electronics is good, but always have a reliable backup that's, paper map, compass, pencil, a wristwatch, in case you lose your GPS. So, what else about this? There's plenty I want to say about this. So that's the brakes, and so the Mudguard. When I got the bike, it was not feeling complete without the Mudguard. So now it's got the Mudguard, and it looks beautiful. It looks complete. It looks more like how a bike should look. It's completely transformed the appearance of the bike to have the Mudguards on there. It looks beautiful. They're just matte black or jet black plastic. And did I mention this French company Zefal? It's made in France. The product, the front and rear Mudguards, are made in France. They're not designed in France and made in China. They're made in France, engineered in France, designed in France, manufactured in France. How much were they in Australia? I think they're about $40, $45. So not the cheapest. But also on the packaging came the instructions, and I lost that. But then I went and had a look on the internet, and I found the instructions for the Zefal 65 Swan Road or whatever it's called. And Yeah, they're beautiful instructions. You know how these days you've just become accustomed to getting shitty instructions that aren't even translated properly from an Asian language, usually Chinese, and usually the instructions are not that great. Well, these are French instructions made by French graphic designers. It's like you're reading a Tintin book. Like, the graphic design is perfect. You just feel so safe and at home and familiar and comfortable to be seeing graphic design and product instructions designed by European people. Like, it's worth mentioning because it's just such a novelty these days. It's so rare to get product instructions for a product made in France, and the product instructions are designed, illustrated by French, and made by French. It's amazing. It's clear. You can understand it. Maybe not perfectly clear, but clear enough. So. Just a breath of fresh air. So also I had problems with the frickin' Presta valves on these wheels. These days they don't use Schroeder valves, they use Presta valves. Schroeder valves are on your car tyre, and they used to be on bicycle tyres. These are Presta valves, they're long and skinny. And I bought this as well, and I've attached it to the bike. Got that from the Giant dealership as well. It's a small bike pump. And I'm not kidding, it took me about 14 months, basically the entire time of owning the bike, plus a few months extra after I bought there was, between buying the bike and buying the pump, there was probably about 3 months there. But probably for about a year and a half, I've had that bike pump, and I'm only just a few months ago was I able to figure out how to properly use the bike pump. That's how effed up Presta valves are from my point of view. Now that I know how to use them, they're not intuitive, they need training, and you feel like you're going to break them every time. Now that I know how to use them, it's good. I've actually got proper pressure in both of those wheels, tyres. But for the longest time, I'd sit on the bike and I'd see the, like, looking down, I'd see the back wheel just like the tyre just go and just flatten and bulge out. Now there's really good pressure in there, and that's been sitting for a few months doing nothing. So it could probably do with another pump up, but it's still really acceptable condition, the amount of pressure in the tyres. So yeah, for the longest time I'd try and pump up the tyres, and I'd feel like I was pumping against air pressure, and that it's just like I was compressing air pressure, but nothing was going in. And then I managed to figure out you got to sort of, I don't know what it is, I can't explain it, but with the Presta valve, you got to do it differently somehow, and then you can get air into the tyre, and then it's perfect and it works perfectly. I can just imagine being on like a race like the Tour de France or something, and trying to fuck around with a Presta valve. Like, it's, unless you do it right, it doesn't work. So now I know how to do it right, and now it's beautiful, it works, it can really pump up the tyres, like really rock hard nicely. So that is a problem solved. I've got the Mudguards, which is just so civilized. The design of them is minimalistic, and they, you got to sort of be careful now not to really bump them or kick them with your foot when you're jumping on the bike and putting your feet on the pedals. So they're kind of a delicate thing, and they're in close proximity to your spinning wheel and everything. So I actually left the bike for a long time in a bad way, and it actually got rust on the chain, and the chain got seized up, and I put a whole lot of silicone grease. I sprayed it onto the chain, and then tried to get it, work it loose, and then take it for a ride. So yeah, it got rust on the chain, and it sort of in a way looks like an older bike than it is now because of the rust. It got a bit of rust on the brake disc, got a lot on the chain to the point the chain seized up, and it was like from moisture in the air. It wasn't from direct rain or something, it was from moisture in the air. The way I kept it with a tarpaulin over it, covering it, it captured moisture and just caused it all to seize up. So I'll need to store it better. I've also got, so yeah, I really love these Mudguards. So far they're just beautiful. I've got this thing from Audi. It's a padding. It's probably not even adequate. I'd like it to be thicker padding, and it's probably fairly loose and everything. Normally you have the seat like up here instead of where it is. That's as low as it can go. Normally you have it like up here, so you can get a full stroke of your leg on the pedal. But I've just lowered it to the max because I feel that's just, you can quick adjust it either way you want. So I'm going to get a fixture for the front of the bike somewhere, the handlebars or just the front of the chassis frame, to put a light on so that I can ride it at night time with this big headlight, basically. That's one thing. And on my helmet, I've got a fixture there. It's not very good. It's for a cheap knockoff GoPro that I got off the internet for $35. It's a piece of shit, but I'm going to try and get a light that goes on here, and that I can have a headlight on the bike, and that I can have a headlight on here, so that when I'm looking around, I'll have two headlights, one on the helmet and one on the front of the bike, and then I'll be able to ride at night. So that's one thing. And what's another thing? I'm going to get a mount for the phone to put on either onto the handlebars or the front of the bike. I'll put a mount here somewhere for the phone, and perhaps a mount for the GPS as well. That's getting a bit luxurious, isn't it? But I'd like to have a mount for the phone that really, really works, even in bumpy conditions. It doesn't fall off, and you don't smash your phone under the tire on a rock or something. So yeah, mount for the phone on the front, mount for headlight, put a big fucking headlight on there, rechargeable, and like if I've got a headlight that can run at full power for half an hour, and then after that it's sort of a bit dim but it still works, that's kind of what you want. And then you can recharge it, so if you have to ride at night time, you can ride at night time. And to have a mount there for the GPS as well would be really nice, so I can put my Garmin GPS on the handlebars. And you don't necessarily need that, but it's better than keeping it in your pocket and stopping and pulling it out and looking at it. You just keep it there, it's perfect. So yeah, it's kind of accessorized now. I've got the bike pump, I've got the French made in France mudguards, and I've fixed up the brakes a bit, and I'm still working on fixing up the brakes. I feel that the brakes have an inherent design flaw in them. I'm not sure what it is. Like I said, my theory is that if you leave the bike stationary for a long time, somehow those O-clamps, those tensile steel O-clamps in the brake lever, in the piston pot there, they come loose just from sitting idle. That's the feeling that I have about it. It could be from use, but I think it's from being idle. I'm not sure, but really Giant should have done a better job than have these loose tensile O-clamps that somehow come out. I don't know how they come out. It's a mystery to me. So that, I'm not happy about the engineering on those brakes. What's the point of having really great disc brakes with, olden days bikes used to have a braided thread, braided metal line, like a metal cable that would pull the brakes. These ones have, hydraulic brakes like you have in a bike, like a motorbike, and like in a car, hydraulic brakes. But what's the point of hydraulic brakes that routinely come loose and leak? That's not acceptable. So yeah, all right, so let me just set up the camera like this. I know the sun's coming in. I'm just going to leave the phone here, and I'm just going to go for a bit of a ride, and you'll be able to see how it is. So, there we go. just good. It's just really good. I don't know if you can hear me from here, but it's just really good. Except, of course, for the problem with the brakes. So, yeah. So there you go. That's basically what I wanted to show you. Thanks very much for having a look. And I mean, yeah, just with these mudguards on, it's just nice. They're quality components and all. And you know, it doesn't have an engine, not a petrol, not an electric. I'd like it to have an engine, maybe a small engine. But you can see there's like residue from sticky tape that looks ugly. I'll have to clean that off with alcohol or something, metho. Sticky tape residue there from when I had I had a selfie stick poking forwards, kind of like way out to here, and then it had the camera on the end of the selfie stick poking forward, but it was not a success. So now I have to get rid of that bloody residue from the sticky tape because it makes the bike look shit. But yeah, so I'm going to try and incorporate this bike into my kind of like my weekly routine and actually ride it a few kilometers at least once a week, and be able to ride it at night and in the day. And I don't have night vision goggles. I've got a night vision monocular. Possibly I could use that for riding the bike, but it's not really suitable because it shows you what's ahead of you by about 10 feet or more in front of you, not what's right up close to you. You've got no peripheral vision with it. So, by the way, just on my night vision monocular, you can't use it in the car. If you're sitting in the car and you're trying to look out the windscreen or the side window, guess what you see? You see whatever the window is reflecting that's inside the car, but you can't see through the window with night vision. So, but on a bicycle, you'll be able to use night vision because there's no glass in front of you, and therefore, you know, you don't get blocked from seeing what's outside. So that's just an interesting thing that I've noticed about night vision, at least the one that I've got, which is a combined night vision plus thermal imaging. It will not look through windows. It will not look through any window. Isn't that interesting? But I don't have a way to fit the night vision like a Universal Soldier Claude Van Damme or something, like to fit it here, so I can look. Like, I don't have an apparatus to fit it like a goggle. But if I did, I'd try riding the bike in low light conditions, at least with one eye having the night vision. But I think the best solution is just a really powerful headlight on the bike that can stay strong for at least half an hour, give you some useful time to use it. So yeah, you know, it's an expensive bit of kit. It's about 800 Australian dollars for this. It's kind of it feels like an insult to have to pedal. Like, you'd prefer to have an engine. I'm a big believer in having bicycles with engines, like not a motorbike, but a bicycle with an engine. By the way, I don't know if you can see me or not. I'm hoping that you can. This is as far out as I can get without tipping the tripod over. Yeah, I'm a big believer in having engines on bikes, little engines that can assist you to pedal or to drive along when you're coasting along on the flat, and that can help you to get up really steep hills that you would otherwise have to stop and walk the bike up the hill. So I wouldn't mind having an engine on this, but it's not designed to have an engine on it. And if you get a too powerful engine, you can stress out the rest of the bike components that are only designed to have human force input into the drivetrain system. So, you know, if you put too powerful an engine on it, you're going to hurt the gears and everything. So that's something to consider. but it'd be good to have an engine on it somehow. Possibly electrical engines are not very healthy to be in proximity to as well, because they'd be giving off electromagnetic field, and they'd be giving off radio frequency and shit like that. You don't really want to be in a Tesla car, do you? With all the if you ran an EMF meter on a Tesla car, it'd probably be pretty unhealthy. But even though it feels like an insult to have to pedal, when you could just have an electric engine or a motor, petrol engine would be nice to have. My little Stihl chainsaw, Stihl is the brand that has orange chainsaws. My little Stihl chainsaw, I think that's made in Europe. I just bought a chain for it yesterday and fitted the chain on it today. The chain is made in Switzerland. This is quite an interesting synchronicity. Mudguard's on this bike, made in France. The chain for my Stihl chainsaw, which is a German chainsaw, which I think is made in Germany predominantly. You know, it might have parts made in Austria and Spain or whatever, but the chain for the Stihl chainsaw is made in Switzerland, which is amazing. So what I was going to say is that if you're doing something that makes you sweat, that's supposed to be, and I agree, really good for your health. Recovering from injury, recovering from surgery, recovering from wounds. If you're doing something that makes you sweat, either exercise that makes you sweat regularly as a way of life, as a lifestyle, you're kind of forced into it. You have to use your bike, or you have to go for a walk to do something every week. You've got no choice. Then you're going to sweat regularly, that sort of thing. Or if you've got discipline, you can force yourself to, you can make yourself conform to an exercise routine. You're going to sweat a bit, and that's going to make you have a healthy lifestyle that apparently has an effect on healing from surgery. So apparently the people that don't sweat regularly and have a high salt diet and a few other things and eat a lot of meat, this guy was saying, do not recover from surgery properly. But the people that have low salt diet, minimal meat diet, a lot of fruit and veg, that's from an American perspective, by the way, which means you can still eat meat, but it's not like overdosing on meat, you know. And people that don't eat much salt and people that sweat regularly, they recover from surgery very effectively, to the point that apparently it's not worthwhile having surgery to fix a back problem if you're just going to have a high salt diet, high meat diet, not do any exercise that makes you sweat. But another way to sweat, people are saying, is to use a sauna. So I'm thinking of making some kind of a sauna, or buying one. I think I can't afford to buy one, but if I can make some kind of a steam apparatus where I can have a sauna, that can make me sweat as well. And if you're regularly sweating, apparently it's so good for your health. I think it was Tony Robbins, and Dana Ashley was saying this as well recently, is that she's got a sauna, is that if you sweat a lot, it can make you live much, much, much longer than if you don't. If you sweat regularly, you can recover from surgery much, much better, and you can live longer. So there is a rationale to having a bike and not having a petrol or electric engine, just using your muscle power, your legs. If you're sweating a bit regularly, you might live longer, and you might be healthier, and you might recover from surgery and wounds and injury much quicker and much more permanently than if you didn't sweat regularly. So there's benefits to something so inconvenient and so uncomfortable as sweating. Oh, my clothes are getting wet, and my clothes are getting stinky, and I'll have to put them in the wash, and all these kind of inconveniences. But if you look at it, there's a benefit to sweating. So there's a rationale for actually making yourself live a hard life and have something like a bicycle. But yeah, it's a great bike, and that just needs to be fixed up. As soon as I find my tool that I can put the O clamp back in, I'll fix that up like I did with that one. And it's just really good. It's just really fabulous. So that's been an update on the bicycle, and so I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for listening.